Most people trust too quickly. They hear a few convincing words, see a friendly smile, feel a moment of connection, and immediately begin to open the doors of their lives. They reveal their plans, their weaknesses, their fears, and their private thoughts. Then, when that trust is broken, they ask themselves, how could I have been so wrong about this person? But the truth is, most people were not deceived by a master manipulator. They simply failed to observe. Human beings are constantly revealing themselves. The problem is that we are often too distracted by what people say to notice what they repeatedly do. We listen to promises instead of patterns. We focus on charm instead of consistency. We become impressed by confidence, intelligence, beauty, humor, or attention, and we mistake these qualities for character. But charm is not character. Confidence is not loyalty. Kindness in one moment is not proof of integrity. People often reveal themselves long before they betray you, but most people are not paying attention. They listen to what someone says. They become impressed by promises, explanations, apologies, and emotional speeches, and they assume that words are evidence of character. But words are often the easiest thing to control. A person can say they are loyal, honest, kind, respectful, and trustworthy. They can describe themselves in whatever way they want you to see them. But the real question is not what someone claims to be. The real question is what they repeatedly demonstrate through their behavior. Anyone can make a promise. Not everyone can maintain a pattern. This is one of the most important principles in understanding people. A single action can be misleading. Someone may be generous once, patient once, honest once, or supportive once, but one moment does not define a person. A pattern is much more difficult to fake. If someone repeatedly keeps their promises, respects boundaries, takes responsibility, and treats people with fairness, you begin to see evidence of character. If someone repeatedly lies, manipulates, breaks commitments, creates unnecessary conflict, and changes their personality depending on who is watching, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The mistake people make is that they often judge others based on potential rather than evidence. They see what a person could become and ignore what that person consistently is. They hear someone say, "I will change," and immediately trust the promise, even though the same person has made that promise many times before. They believe the apology instead of observing whether the behavior changes. They become emotionally attached to explanations while ignoring repetition. But an apology without change is often only another form of communication. Real change appears in behavior. If a person repeatedly says they care about your feelings, but continues to dismiss them, pay attention to the behavior. If they repeatedly promise to be honest, but continue hiding important information, pay attention to the pattern. If they say they respect you, but become insulting whenever you disagree with them, pay attention to what happens when they do not get their way. People often reveal their true character in the moments when their words and actions separate. This is why you should listen to what people say, but study what they do. Words can give you information about how someone wants to be perceived. Actions give you information about who they may actually be. When the two match consistently, trust becomes easier. When the two constantly contradict each other, the contradiction itself is a warning. You should also pay attention to how people behave when there is no obvious reward. Many people act well when they want something. They become generous when they need a favor. They become attentive when they want your approval. They become supportive when your success benefits them. But what happens when there is nothing to gain? That is where patterns become clearer. Does the person still show respect when no one important is watching? Do they still keep their word when breaking it would be easier? Do they still treat others with dignity when those people cannot help them? Do they still support you when your success brings them no advantage? Character is often revealed in situations where performance is unnecessary. A person who is kind only when kindness produces a reward may not be kind in the deeper sense. A person who is honest only when lying is dangerous may not truly value honesty. A person who is loyal only when loyalty is convenient may not understand loyalty at all. This does not mean that people must be perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone can have a bad day, fail to keep a promise, or react poorly under pressure. The important question is not whether someone has ever made a mistake. The important question is whether the mistake is part of a repeated pattern. One failure does not necessarily define a person. Repeated failure without responsibility tells you much more. Watch how people respond when their behavior is brought to their attention. A trustworthy person may become uncomfortable, defensive, or embarrassed, but they are capable of reflection. A manipulative person often avoids the issue completely. They change the subject, attack the person who confronted them, create a new conflict, or turn themselves into the victim. The response to accountability is itself a pattern. When you begin studying patterns, you stop being easily impressed by temporary performances. You become less interested in what someone promises to do and more interested in what they have consistently done. You stop asking, "What did they say?" and start asking, "What has happened repeatedly?" This shift changes the way you understand people. A person who constantly creates chaos will eventually bring chaos into your life. A person who repeatedly disrespects others will eventually find a reason to disrespect you. A person who constantly betrays confidences will eventually reveal your private information. A person who treats every relationship as a competition will eventually compete with you. The behavior may not appear immediately, but patterns have a way of returning. People often tell you about their future behavior through their past behavior. Not always, because human beings can change, but change requires evidence. If someone claims to be different, look for consistent proof over time. Do not demand perfection. Look for direction. Is the behavior actually improving, or are the words simply becoming more convincing? The more you observe, the less you need to guess. You do not have to interrogate people. You do not need to manipulate them into revealing their secrets. You do not need to create tests or traps. Simply pay attention. Let them speak. Let them behave naturally. Give time enough space to expose what a first impression hides. The person who wants your trust may tell you exactly why they deserve it. But the person who truly deserves your trust will gradually demonstrate it without needing to constantly advertise their character. Promises create expectations. Patterns create evidence. And when it comes to trusting someone, evidence should always be stronger than expectation. Most people are easy to understand when life is going exactly as they want. When they are comfortable, praised, successful, and surrounded by people who agree with them, almost anyone can appear calm, generous, patient, and reasonable. But comfort does not reveal very much about character. It allows people to maintain control over their image. The real test begins when comfort disappears. Pressure reveals what performance hides. When people face criticism, failure, rejection, frustration, disappointment, or a loss of control, their carefully constructed image becomes harder to maintain. Their reactions become faster and more emotional. They have less time to choose the perfect words. In these moments, you can learn more about a person than you might learn from months of pleasant conversation. This does not mean you should create problems for people just to study their reactions. You do not need to provoke anyone or manipulate situations. Life will naturally provide enough pressure. Simply observe how people respond when things do not go according to plan. What happens when they are told no? What happens when someone disagrees with them? What happens when they make a mistake? What happens when another person receives the attention they wanted? What happens when they lose an argument? What happens when they are forced to wait? These moments reveal emotional patterns. A person who appears extremely calm may become aggressive the moment they lose control. A person who constantly talks about respect may become insulting when challenged. Someone who appears generous may become resentful when their generosity is not immediately rewarded. Someone who claims to be confident may become deeply hostile when another person receives recognition. The situation does not necessarily create the behavior. Often, it exposes what was already present beneath the surface. One of the clearest tests of character is how someone handles being wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Intelligence is not the ability to avoid every mistake. Character is revealed by what happens after the mistake. Can the person admit it? Can they listen? Can they apologize without immediately adding an excuse? Can they correct the behavior? Or do they instantly search for someone else to blame? A person who cannot accept responsibility becomes dangerous to trust because every future problem may become your fault. If they break a promise, they blame circumstances. If they hurt someone, they blame the victim. If they fail, they blame the system. If they lose, they blame the people around them. Paid attention to this pattern. A person who never accepts responsibility will eventually make you responsible for their behavior. Pressure also reveals how someone treats people who cannot fight back. When frustrated, do they attack the weakest person in the room? Do they become cruel toward those with less power? Do they take their anger out on people who are unable to defend themselves? This is an important observation, because power changes behavior. Some people are respectful only when they are dealing with someone stronger than themselves. Their politeness is not character. It is caution. Watch what happens when they believe there will be no consequences. A person who becomes cruel when they feel safe from punishment is revealing something important. A person who remains respectful even when they have power over others is revealing something even more valuable. Pressure also reveals how people respond to disappointment. Everyone experiences disappointment, but people handle it differently. Some become quiet, reflect, and move forward. Others become vindictive. They want to punish the person who disappointed them. They may spread rumors, manipulate others, or attempt to destroy what they could not possess. This is where you begin to see the difference between emotional strength and emotional control. A person does not have to be emotionless to be trustworthy. In fact, suppressing every emotion is not the same as having self-control. The important question is whether the person owns their emotions or allows their emotions to control everyone around them. Anger is natural. The danger comes when anger becomes an excuse for cruelty. Jealousy is natural. The danger comes when jealousy becomes sabotage. Fear is natural. The danger comes when fear becomes manipulation. Everyone experiences difficult emotions. Character is revealed by what a person chooses to do with them. You should also watch how people behave when they lose status. Some people are kind when they are winning, but become bitter when someone else succeeds. They support you only when they are ahead of you. The moment you gain attention, money, influence, or recognition, their attitude changes. This is why another person's reaction to your success can reveal more than their reaction to your failure. When you fail, some people comfort you because your failure makes them feel safe. When you succeed, their true feelings may become more difficult to hide. Do they celebrate you sincerely? Do they minimize your achievement? Do they suddenly become critical? Do they try to remind everyone of your past mistakes? Do they begin competing with you in every conversation? You are not looking for one moment of jealousy. Everyone can feel envy occasionally. You are looking for repeated behavior that shows an inability to be happy for others. Pressure also reveals how people behave when they are tired. A person may control their behavior during a formal meeting or an important social event, but exhaustion often weakens the mask. This is why long-term interaction reveals more than first impressions. The more situations you see someone in, the more complete your understanding becomes. See them when they are excited. See them when they are disappointed. See them when they are losing. See them when they are winning. See them when they are being praised. See them when they are ignored. The goal is not to judge every reaction. The goal is to identify the pattern behind the reactions. A trustworthy person may have moments of weakness. They may become frustrated, angry, disappointed, or afraid. But over time, they are capable of returning to responsibility. They can recognize when they have crossed a line. They can repair damage instead of pretending it never happened. This is an important distinction. Do not expect people to never lose control. Instead, observe what they do after losing control. Do they reflect? Do they take responsibility? Do they repair what they damaged? Or do they expect everyone else to simply tolerate their behavior? The aftermath of a reaction often reveals more than the reaction itself. A person who becomes angry but later recognizes the mistake may be more trustworthy than a person who always appears calm, but secretly manipulates everyone around them. Do not judge only the surface. Study the entire cycle: the trigger, the reaction, the responsibility, and the recovery. This is how you begin to understand people with greater clarity. When you observe someone under pressure, you are not searching for perfection. You are searching for their default response when their image becomes difficult to maintain. Pressure does not always reveal a person's entire character, but it often reveals the parts they work hardest to hide. And if you learn to watch without rushing to excuse, condemn, or romanticize what you see, you will begin to understand the difference between temporary emotion and permanent pattern. People are often judged by their personality, but personality alone tells you very little about what someone may do. A person can be charming, intelligent, funny, confident, generous, and easy to talk to, yet still have motives that conflict with your interests. This is why reading people requires more than observing how they make you feel. You must learn to understand what they want. Every person has motives. This is not automatically a sign of dishonesty or evil. Human beings naturally pursue desires. They want security, recognition, love, money, influence, freedom, status, control, acceptance, or revenge. The important question is not whether someone has motives. The important question is whether you understand those motives before you give them your trust. Many people make the mistake of assuming that because someone is friendly, that person must have good intentions. But friendliness and intention are not the same thing. A person can be warm because they genuinely like you. They can also be warm because they want access to your resources, your connections, your attention, your influence, or your emotional support. The behavior may look identical in the beginning. This is why you must learn to look beyond the surface. Ask yourself, what does this person want from this situation? What do they gain from being close to me? What are they trying to achieve? What do they fear losing? What changes in their behavior when their desires are threatened? These questions do not require paranoia. They require awareness. A person's motives often become visible when their interests are challenged. Someone may appear generous until you stop giving them what they want. Someone may seem supportive until your success begins to compete with their own. Someone may seem loyal until another opportunity appears. Watch what changes when the reward changes. A person who is only kind when they are receiving something may not be offering kindness. They may be making an investment. Again, this does not automatically make them evil. People often help one another for mutual benefit. Healthy relationships can involve exchange. The danger appears when one person hides their expectations and becomes resentful when the other person does not provide what they secretly wanted. This is why clear communication matters. Hidden expectations create confusion. A person may say, "I did all of this for you," but the truth is that they were waiting for something in return. When the expected reward does not arrive, their generosity turns into anger. Pay attention to this transformation. The most revealing question is often not, "What does this person say they want?" but, "What do they repeatedly move toward?" People reveal their priorities through time, money, attention, and sacrifice. Someone may claim that family is important, but where does their time actually go? Someone may say that honesty matters, but what do they do when honesty threatens their reputation? Someone may claim that they want peace, but do they repeatedly create conflict? Behavior exposes priorities more accurately than statements. You should also observe what people fear. Desire and fear often control behavior more strongly than logic. A person who is terrified of rejection may manipulate relationships to avoid being abandoned. A person who fears losing status may become jealous of anyone who threatens their position. A person who fears being powerless may attempt to control everyone around them. Understanding fear helps you understand behavior, but this knowledge should not be used to exploit people. The purpose of reading motives is not to manipulate every weakness you discover. It is to recognize compatibility and danger. If you understand what drives someone, you can make better decisions about how much access to give them. Someone who constantly seeks control may struggle with your independence. Someone who requires constant admiration may become resentful when attention shifts away from them. Someone obsessed with competition may turn even a friendship into a contest. The personality may appear attractive in the beginning. The motive eventually determines the relationship. Another important clue is how someone speaks about people who are not present. Listen to the stories they tell about former friends, partners, coworkers, and enemies. What do they focus on? Do they describe everyone as useful or useless? Do they constantly measure people by money, beauty, influence, or status? Do they speak with compassion about people who can no longer benefit them? The way someone evaluates others can reveal how they may eventually evaluate you. If a person only values people when they are useful, understand that your value in their eyes may also depend on usefulness. If you become less successful, less available, or less convenient, their attitude may change. This is why you should never confuse being needed with being valued. Someone may depend on you without respecting you. Someone may want your attention without caring about your well-being. Someone may fear losing access to you without truly appreciating who you are. Look carefully at the difference. A person's motives also reveal themselves through patterns of timing. When do they contact you? Are they present only when they need something? Do they disappear when you need support? Do they suddenly become extremely affectionate when they have a request? One event proves very little. Repeated timing creates a pattern. You should also be careful with people who constantly make you feel guilty for having boundaries. If someone becomes angry because you cannot give them what they want, they may not be responding to your rejection. They may be reacting to the loss of control. A healthy person can experience disappointment without attempting to punish you for it. This is why your boundaries are valuable tools for understanding motives. Say no respectfully. Create distance when necessary. Protect your time. Then observe. The reaction will give you information. A person who respects your independence may genuinely care about you. A person who becomes hostile whenever you are unavailable may be more interested in access than connection. The more clearly you understand motives, the less likely you are to be controlled by appearances. You begin to realize that not everyone who wants to be close to you wants the same thing from the relationship. Some want friendship, some want attention, some want validation, some want power, some want opportunity, some want emotional rescue, some want to use your strengths to compensate for their weaknesses. None of these motives should be guessed recklessly. They should be observed through repeated evidence. The purpose of studying motives is not to become suspicious of everyone. It is to stop being surprised by predictable behavior. When you understand what someone consistently wants, you can often predict what they will do when that desire is threatened. And once you understand that, you no longer need to be blinded by charm, flattery, or temporary emotional intensity. You can appreciate someone's personality while still evaluating their intentions, because a pleasant personality may attract you, but motives determine whether trust is safe. Trust is one of the most valuable things you can give another person, yet many people give it away too quickly. They meet someone, feel an instant connection, hear a few impressive stories, and suddenly reveal everything. Their private thoughts, personal struggles, future plans, fears, secrets, and weaknesses become available to someone they barely know. Then, when that person eventually disappoints them, they wonder how they could have been so wrong. The problem is not always that they failed to recognize a dangerous person. Sometimes they simply gave someone access before that person had earned it. Trust should not be given as a single gift. It should be built gradually through evidence. You can be friendly without revealing everything. You can respect someone without depending on them completely. You can enjoy a conversation without immediately giving that person access to your deepest vulnerabilities. You can appreciate a new relationship while still allowing time to reveal whether the connection is real. Time is one of the greatest tests of character, because people can maintain an image for a short period, but very few can maintain a false identity forever. In the beginning, people are often on their best behavior. They are careful with their words. They want to make a good impression. They may be unusually attentive, generous, and agreeable. This does not automatically mean they are pretending. Many people genuinely behave well when they first meet someone, but a first impression is only a beginning. It is not proof. The real question is what happens after the excitement fades. Does the respect remain? Does the consistency remain? Does the person continue to keep their promises when they no longer need to impress you? Does their behavior remain stable when they are disappointed? This is where time becomes valuable. You should not rush to give someone complete access to your life simply because they create an immediate emotional connection. Intensity is not the same as trust. A person can make you feel understood in one conversation and still be completely unfamiliar with your character. Sometimes people confuse emotional closeness with proven reliability. You may feel as if you have known someone for years, but feelings do not automatically provide evidence. Trust must be tested through experience. Give people small opportunities to demonstrate who they are. Share something minor, and observe whether they respect your privacy. Set a reasonable boundary and observe whether they accept it. Ask for a small favor and observe whether they follow through. Disagree with them and observe whether they can handle the difference without attacking you. You do not need to create artificial tests. Everyday life naturally provides enough opportunities. Science through someone handles small responsibilities often predicts how they will handle larger ones. If a person cannot respect a small boundary, why would you expect them to respect a major one? If they repeatedly break small promises, why would you blindly trust them with something important? If they constantly reveal other people's secrets, why would you assume your secrets will be safe? Pay attention to what people do with the trust others have already given them. A person who casually exposes private information about someone else is showing you how they treat confidentiality. A person who constantly mocks their former friends is showing you how they may speak about you in the future. A person who enjoys humiliating others for entertainment is revealing something about their relationship with power. Do not ignore these examples simply because the person is currently treating you well. People often say, "They would never do that to me." But the question is not whether they have done it to you yet. The question is whether they have shown you that they are capable of doing it. This does not mean you should assume the worst about everyone. It means you should pay attention to evidence. Trust should grow as evidence grows. If someone consistently demonstrates honesty, respect, responsibility, and loyalty, your trust can gradually deepen. If their behavior becomes inconsistent, contradictory, or manipulative, your level of trust should adjust accordingly. You are allowed to change your mind about people. Many people remain loyal to an old version of someone, even after the person has repeatedly shown them something different. They say, "But they were good to me once." That may be true. A person can have good qualities and still be unsafe to trust in certain areas. You do not need to label someone as completely good or completely bad. Human beings are complicated. The important question is not, "Is this person perfect?" The important question is, what level of access has this person earned? Not everyone deserves the same level of trust. Some people may be safe to talk to casually, but not safe with your private information. Some may be reliable in business, but emotionally immature in close relationships. Some may be kind, but irresponsible. Some may be intelligent, but dishonest. Trust should be specific. You do not have to give someone complete access simply because they have earned access in one area. Another important principle is to observe how people react when you slow down the relationship. A trustworthy person may respect your pace. A manipulative person may try to rush you. They may say, "If you really trusted me, you would tell me everything." They may become offended because you want privacy. They may pressure you to prove your loyalty. Be careful with anyone who believes your boundaries are an insult. Real trust does not require constant proof. It grows through mutual respect. Someone who genuinely cares about you will not need to force you into emotional exposure before you are ready. They will understand that trust cannot be demanded. It must be earned. This is why patience protects you. When you move slowly, you allow contradictions to appear. The person who is only pretending to be consistent will eventually become inconsistent. The person who is only pretending to care will eventually become careless. The person who is only pretending to respect your boundaries will eventually challenge them. Time gives you information that emotion cannot. Do not allow someone's urgency to become your obligation. If someone demands immediate trust, immediate loyalty, immediate access, or immediate commitment, ask yourself why they are so uncomfortable with time. Healthy relationships can survive patience. Manipulation often depends on speed. The more time you give yourself to observe, the less likely you are to become trapped by a temporary impression. You can remain open while moving carefully. You can give people opportunities without giving them control. You can be kind without becoming careless. You can believe that people are capable of good while still requiring evidence before giving them complete trust. The strongest position is not to trust everyone or trust no one. The strongest position is to trust intelligently, let actions accumulate, Let consistency speak. Let time test the promises. And when someone repeatedly demonstrates that their words and behavior align, trust can grow naturally. Without pressure, without fear, and without the need to ignore the evidence in front of you.